Let's be honest, some people just don't get the sports craze. While crowds erupt over touchdowns and last-second goals, others sit there thinking, why does any of this matter? You know the type. Maybe you are that type. You're not bored, you're just detached, uninterested, immune to sports culture. And guess what? That doesn't make you weird. It might just make you more aware than the rest. There's an entire group of people who've quietly opted out of the emotional roller coaster that is sports fandom. While the world bonds over rivalries and team jerseys, these folks are asking bigger questions about identity, meaning, and mental space. It's not rebellion, it's psychology, the psychology of sports obsession, and of those who remain completely untouched by it. So if you've ever thought, why I don't watch sports, or caught yourself faking excitement to fit in, stick around. We're unpacking why some people hate sports, what makes them immune to the hype, and why this disconnection might actually be an overlooked superpower. Ready to see the game from the outside? Personality traits behind sports apathy. Some people aren't wired to chase the roar of the crowd or obsess over who made the playoffs. And that's not a flaw, it's a feature. The psychology of sports starts at the personality level. People with high introspection, analytical thinking, or deep interest in solitary pursuits often show signs of sports indifference explained by how their brain filters relevance. They're not anti-fun, they just value different kinds of stimulation. While others thrive on collective excitement, these individuals find meaning and depth over spectacle. Think about introverts, for example. The stadium experience, full of shouting, tight crowds, and overhyped rivalries, is the opposite of their happy place. It's not about being a snob, it's about energy management. They'd rather read a book, explore philosophy, or lose themselves in creative work than watch strangers run back and forth on a screen. Sports as distraction doesn't appeal to them. They prefer purpose over passive consumption. It's not apathy, it's preference backed by psychological wiring. And then there's the independent thinker, the one who questions everything, including traditions like sports fandom. While the masses adopt team loyalties from family or region, these individuals ask, what's the point? That's where sports culture critique enters the scene. They may reject tribalism in sports, not because they want to be contrarian, but because they see the emotional manipulation behind the obsession. They value clarity over hype, truth over tradition, and that mindset opens the door to something deeper. For many people, the obsession with sports starts young. Family traditions, school spirit, neighborhood rivalries, they're all emotional training grounds. But what happens if none of that ever resonated with you? If you never felt the thrill of a last-minute win or the agony of defeat? The psychology of sports tells us that early emotional imprinting shapes whether we join the tribe or stay on the outside. If sports didn't offer you connection, belonging, or reward early on, chances are you grew immune to the hype later in life. Imagine a kid who preferred building model rockets while everyone else was playing football. Maybe they were teased, left out, or simply uninterested. That emotional detachment from sports didn't just happen, it was cultivated. Over time, it became reinforced every time they were told to just play along or act excited. These experiences help explain why some people hate sports. They associate it with pressure, not pleasure. That emotional imprint becomes a boundary between them and the sports-obsessed world. Others may have tried to fit in, gone to the games, wore the jerseys, maybe even joined a team, only to feel like imposters. When the expected joy never came, it created cognitive dissonance. Everyone else feels this, why don't I? That discomfort turns into awareness, and eventually into sports apathy. Not into sports? That might trace back to a moment when the hype didn't deliver. And if you've made it this far, you're probably one of the rare few who actually thinks about this stuff. So yeah, this might be a good time to tap like or sub before you forget. And from here, it only gets deeper, because next we explore how identity plays into all of this. For many sports fans, rooting for a team isn't just entertainment, it's identity. It's hometown pride, family legacy, even self-worth wrapped in a jersey. But for those who are immune to sports hype, this connection often doesn't land. They see the tribalism in sports for what it is, a constructed identity that sometimes feels more like a costume than a calling. And when you don't tie your sense of self to a scoreboard, the appeal fades quickly. The anti-sports mindset often stems from a different kind of self-concept, one based on individuality rather than group affiliation. These people don't hate belonging, they just seek it in places that align with who they really are. Instead of joining the crowd at a bar for the big game, they might build their community through music, tech, books, or niche hobbies. It's not about being superior, it's about feeling authentic. Sports fandom psychology doesn't always make room for that kind of person, and they notice. What's more, many of these individuals have a natural resistance to social pressure. They spot the emotional manipulation in chants, rivalries, and sports marketing campaigns designed to sell identity. And instead of feeling left out, they feel free. That's why they often experience sports culture critique not as bitterness, but as clarity. Their sense of identity isn't anchored in external hype, it's grounded in internal purpose. And once that kind of clarity sets in, it changes how they engage with everything else. Here's something people rarely talk about. Emotional energy is a limited resource. Some people instinctively protect their mental bandwidth, choosing not to invest in things that offer no personal return, and spectator sports often fall into that category. The psychology of sports fandom revolves around highs and lows, drama and adrenaline. But for those who prioritize inner peace, that emotional roller coaster just doesn't make sense. Why tie your mood to a scoreboard you don't control? These individuals often have a high sensitivity to emotional investment. They recognize that being emotionally consumed by something external, especially something as volatile as sports, can be draining. It's not that they don't feel things, it's that they're selective about what they feel things about. That's where sports apathy becomes a strategy, not a flaw. They consciously avoid the emotional spikes of a dramatic game to focus on areas of life where their emotions have more impact, like personal growth, creative work, or real-world relationships. Let's not forget mental health. The sports fandom mental health angle doesn't get enough attention. People can spiral after a team loss, carry emotional baggage from rivalries, or even fall into identity crises when their favorite player retires. Those immune to sports hype often avoid that emotional dependency entirely. They've chosen emotional detachment from sports not out of coldness, but out of self-preservation. And once you start managing your energy like that, you begin to question what else in life is stealing your focus without giving anything back. The bigger picture: distraction, consumerism, and control. Once you zoom out far enough, sports aren't just games, they're part of a system. For those with a critical eye, sports can look like a distraction machine, designed to keep the masses emotionally invested in something that doesn't actually change their lives. This is where the psychology of sports gets really interesting. To some, it's obvious. Sports don't matter in the grand scheme of things, not in the way we've been told they do. And for those immune to sports culture, this realization hits hard, and it sticks. Many non-fans see sports as a modern-day coliseum, where attention and money are funneled into spectacles while deeper issues get buried. Why I don't watch sports? Because while everyone's watching a ball fly through the air, decisions that shape the future are made quietly in the background. These individuals understand that sports fandom is also about profit, politics, and control, something that's hard to unsee once noticed. The tribalism in sports becomes more than just annoying. It feels engineered. That's not to say everyone should reject sports, but those with a strong anti-sports mindset often realize they've been sold a story about meaning that doesn't align with their values. They crave authenticity, depth, and intention, not just noise. Their indifference isn't laziness, it's awareness. They've reclaimed their focus, redirected their loyalty, and chosen to invest in what actually grows them. And the truth is, once you step out of the sports obsession, you start to see where your energy really belongs. If you've ever felt out of place for not caring about sports, maybe now you see you're not broken, you're aware. The world may scream for you to join the hype, pick a team, chant in unison, but your mind's been wired to resist that pull. You've got a different lens, one that sees beyond the noise, beyond the tribalism in sports, and into the deeper layers of identity, focus, and purpose. That's not something to hide, that's something to own. So here's the question. If you've freed your mind from the sports hype, what else could you free it from? What other distractions have you accepted as normal, simply because the crowd did. The psychology of sports fans versus non-fans goes deeper than football. It touches on how we choose to live, think, and feel. And if you've made it this far, maybe it's time to stop apologizing for your sports indifference and start leaning into what really matters to you. And hey, if this kind of content speaks to you, if you enjoy going deeper than the surface, stick around. You're part of a rare tribe, the ones who think differently. Might be worth hitting subscribe now so you don't lose track of these insights later. Turn on notifications too, because we're just getting started. Your mind deserves better than background noise.